2021 Urbandale City Council meeting. I will call the meeting to order and ask the clerk to take roll call, please.
Carberry Montgomery. Here. Obrecht.
Here.
Blake.
Here.
Hoagie.
Here.
Russell.
Here.
Thank you.
If you please stand as you're able for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Urbandale is a national leader in character counts, endeavoring at all times to promote and model the principles of trustworthiness, respect, responsibility, fairness, caring, and citizenship. In conducting tonight's meeting, we expect that all participants will act in a respectful manner consistent with these principles. Item 2 is approve the agenda. Ask for a motion in a second.
So move.
Second. Motion by Russell, second by Pogie. Discussion, please vote. Okay, that passes. Item 3 is citizens forum. This is the opportunity to address the council on something that's not a part of tonight's agenda. And I believe, Ray, I'm going to introduce and recognize Ray Main from the 4th of July Committee. Raymond?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's nice to be back this year. It's nice to see you all with a full crowd. I think that's great. Lots of different hair color this time, so I really think it's going to be a good meeting. I'm here sincerely to thank you for the effort and the time and the money that you extend to the Urbandale 4th of July celebration and parade. Without your efforts, as well as the efforts of the people in the committee that are going to speak with you a bit tonight, we couldn't do it. And so we sincerely appreciate, first of all, your interest in your community because of the way you serve, and also your interest in the celebration that represents Urbandale in the best way and entertains thousands, especially during a time when it was really needed this year. So you responded beautifully, and we would like to say thank you in the only way that we can. So we created a commemorative plaque so that you can put it in a place where all the community will see your efforts, and you can be feel proud of the fact that you participated in this. So, Mr. Mayor, would you please step forward? We can hand the plaque to you.
Thank you very much.
Oh, wonderful. I'm not very good at this, but there we go. One more. Thank you, Bob. And thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, I've seen her before.
And thank you to the 4th of July Committee for all you do for our community. We have a special 4th of July celebration, and it's great to have a parade again this year and to celebrate like this. So thank you for everything you do for the 4th of July. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, is there anyone else like to speak on something not a part of tonight's regular agenda? All right, seeing none, then we will move on. Item 4, the adoption of the minutes. First, the adoption of the minutes from the November 30 meeting.
Move approval.
A motion by Pogie,
Second.
second by Obrecht. Discussion, please vote. That passes. Item 5 is the consent agenda, and we have items, we have through 9 items for approval. I do want to note with regard to the appointments on the Metro Waste appointment that there's a change on that Councilmember Blake would be the primary and the Councilmember Pogie would be the alternate. And then with that set up, then Ron could still serve as chair of that through next year. So with that change, I'd ask for that approval as well. So.
Move to approve consent agenda.
Motion by Obrecht. Second by Blake. Discussion, please vote. That passes. Thank you. We'll move on to public hearings. Item 6 is a public hearing. Item 6.1 is a public hearing to consider the annexation moratorium agreement with the city of Grimes. The public notice for this was published in the November 12 and November 26 Des Moines Register and in the November 11 and December 2 Dallas County News. I ask the clerk for any objections to that notice as published.
There were none.
Ask for a motion and a second to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Motion by Pogge. Second by Blake. Discussion, please vote. That passes. And open this items, our Community Development Director, Steve Franklin. Steve.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening. On the screen here is a map of what we're going to discuss with this first item. You might recall several months ago, I believe it was in March, we renewed our annexation moratorium agreement with the city of Waukee, which is the south boundary. Does not show on this particular map. And so now it's time to renew our agreement with Grimes. Staff has been talking with them for several months concerning this particular item and our next agenda item. And have been able to come up with the agreement that was provided for you. So the red line is the line which is being established again for, another 10 years. That's the maximum length of time that the state code will allow you to have an agreement with another city. And the red line as you see it is identical to the previous agreement, which expired this past July, with the exception of it does now go 1.5 miles further to the west from its original terminus. So the old agreement, which just expired, the line ended here at U Avenue, and it has been extended 1.5 miles to the west. And essentially what the agreement says is that Urbandale agrees that they would not annex any territory north of this line, and Grimes would not annex any territory south of the line. So that's one of the two main changes, is it does now go 1.5 miles further to the west. The other change is that you can see the 3 properties here, which are still in Grimes, which is the Schaefer, Day, and Harding properties. There was a severance area in the previous agreement that said that at any time, if any of those 3 property owners and the property owner for this particular piece, which is the Maplewood Farm piece, if at any time any of those property owners would ask to be severed from Grimes and annexed into Urbandale, that Grimes would pass a resolution doing so and go through the process. And that is exactly what has happened with the Maplewood Farm piece, this 30-acre piece. And in fact, that is another item that's on our agenda tonight. So that's the other difference, in addition to the length of the line, is that severance area now just contains these 3 same pieces, but does not still include the Maplewood Farm piece, because Grimes has passed a resolution to sever them, and it's an agenda item tonight. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you, Steve. Any questions from the council for Steve on this item?
Steve, I guess I haven't seen a map that shows this close. I guess I thought Grimes had more of the area to the north. What's the width of that yellow on the north side of Meredith between the 2 Urbandales?
Oh, so you're talking about right here? From this corner?
No,
this
down
corner?
by Maplewood Farms.
Oh, gotcha. So
That area.
right in there.
What's how much frontage is on Meredith?
It's another 80 acres, I believe. So yeah, so it's gonna be 1/4 mile, right?
Okay.
So this is the Schaefer piece, which is north of Meredith. The Day property is this piece in here, and then the Harding property is this piece, which goes south of Aurora.
Thank you.
Steve, will Grimes be under any obligation to furnish water, sewer, or any type of utilities to that yellow area that's in Urbandale now?
That's part of our discussions with the city of Grimes, and as long as they would stay in Grimes, that's certainly some of the information that Grimes needs to consider. Technically, the answer to your question is yes. Should those properties ever develop, that Grimes currently would be responsible for running those services down there. Those are part of the discussions that we've had.
Meanwhile, who's going to be plowing and maintaining those roads and in that yellow area?
Right now, it's essentially Urbandale that's doing that. They're all used for agricultural purposes today. But the fact that Meredith Drive does run right through the property, it's only 1/4 mile. My understanding is any calls for service from public safety, Urbandale is the one that's doing that, because they're using 142nd Street, which we do own on the west side of the street, and then on both sides of Meredith, just to the east of here.
It's no different than what we've been doing for,
Correct, yeah, essentially, it's gonna be the exact same thing that's been in place for the past 20 years. 10 years ago, we pushed this line out to the north, a little bit further to the west, and now we're pushing it another 1.5 miles to the west. That is the only difference, and then, as I mentioned, this Maplewood Farm area not being included in the Severance area this time.
okay? Any further questions? All right, well, I'll open this up to the public. We are in public hearing on this item. Would anyone like to address the council on this item, either for or against? If so, please. I'll stand up and I'll recognize you. All right, seeing none, I will ask for a motion to close the public hearing.
Move to close the public hearing.
Motion by Obrecht,
Second.
second by Pogge. Discussion, please. That passes. Thank you. And then we move on to item 6.2, and that is to consider the 28E agreement for the sanitary sewer project coordination in connection with the city of Grimes. The public notice for this was published. in the- I'm sorry, I got my head of myself. Thank you. Now we'll move, ask for a motion on the item.
Move to approve resolution 258-2021.
Motion by Obrecht,
Second.
second by Pogge. Discussion, please vote. All right, thank you. That passes. I was trying to run an efficient meeting, guys. I apologize. All right, now we will consider item 6.2, which is the 2080 agreement for the sanitary sewer project coordination and connection with the city of Grimes. Public notice for this was published in the December 3, 2021 Des Moines Register, and asked the clerk for the objections to that notice is published.
There were none.
Ask for a motion to open the public hearing. Motion by
Second.
Blake, second by Obrecht. Discussion, please vote. Okay, that passes. Steve?
Okay, this item is separate from but related to the previous item. In the discussions we've been having with the city of Grimes for the past several months, this was also one of the items that we discussed. So the city of Grimes is currently in the process of receiving bids for a sanitary sewer trunk project that will run through a portion of Urbandale, most notably through Walnut Creek Regional Park. So I have an exhibit here that shows the approximate alignment. Don't know if this is exactly right, but it's close enough for purposes of consideration, I think. So you can see Meredith Drive here on the screen, and where it would come into Walnut Creek Regional Park from the north, would cross Aurora, would run down through the park in this particular section pretty close to where the current Bob Layden Trail is, and then eventually would tie back into the WRA sewer down here to the south of Douglas. So this is all in an effort from them to be able to join the WRA. And so we've had a number of discussions to come up with the 2080 agreement that would stipulate all of the conditions by which this project would get constructed. Most importantly, I think for Urbandale, it does lay out the provisions in there by way of how Grimes would be responsible for repairing or replacing or restoring things that get disturbed, particularly through the park, the infrastructure and the trees as they do this sewer project. So during those discussions, had lots of people from the Urbandale side involved, city engineer, myself, city manager, assistant city manager, and the Parks and Rec director were all involved in those discussions, trying to make sure that we had all of our issues covered as best we could to make sure that things got fixed back up to the way they were once this project gets completed. So with that, I think I will be happy to take questions, and of course, any of the other staff could certainly chime in too.
All right, thank you, Steve. Any questions from the council for Steve?
Grimes would be responsible for the maintaining of it if there was a break or needed repairs.
Once the project is done, it'll be turned over to the WRA. And John,
But the maintenance doesn't fall on us.
No.
that's correct.
Okay.
Steve, section 6, B and C, which is related to public communication and response.
Yep.
I guess that's where my biggest concerns are, that there be proper notification, since it's not going to be our project. Is that going to come out under Grimes' letterhead? I mean, I think there's potential for significant confusion for our residents on what the heck is happening and who do I call to complain about it or
Right.
with questions. So
Yeah.
so if you could talk a little bit about
Yep.
how that is going to work.
The way we set it up, as it notes, is that Grimes going to be responsible for preparing all of the releases and the public information, with giving us the chance to look at it to make sure that we feel that what's in there is going to be appropriate. But the reality is, somebody might get a notice and call us to kind of, see if we're telling them the same story type of thing. So I think we're all going to be prepared to just kind of reinforce what Grimes puts together to make sure that we're on the same page, because we think that that's the most important thing, that we're both saying the same thing. And that's why we wanted the opportunity to be able to review all of the materials that they put together. But I think realistically, people probably will call us and want to just hear it from us too, and we will certainly answer their questions.
Great, thank you.
One last quick question. What's the timeline for this?
Any idea?
On the section that we're showing here that actually goes up north of Waterford Road, Grimes was acting on the bids today. So it's my understanding, due to kind of some material delays on getting ordering materials and getting that they're thinking they could maybe start around May of this year. And then I would assume it's probably at least a year, maybe a little longer of a project.
I guess I came up with one more question. Looking at this aerial through the park, it doesn't show our new shelter.
It's a little bit of an older photo.
So I'm excited to see our new shelter used this summer. It sounds like from what John said, that might not be a conflict, but is it going to conflict with use of the shelter?
I think at this point, it's probably too early to tell for sure, but
And something else to note, like I said, where you see the purple line, there's already a sanitary sewer there today, so they're
Okay.
going alongside of it. I don't see this from holding up the use of the shelter. Again, it may impact a little bit of access at times as far as the trail being closed, but we'll still have the access road is what I envision.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions from the council?
I just wanted to note for the record, so you all know, if you don't know, that Grimes was also considering the previous item and this item at their council meeting tonight as well. So just wanted you to know that.
Thank you, Steve. All right, we are in public hearing on this item. Would anyone from the public like to address this item? Okay, seeing none, I'll ask for a motion and a second to close the public hearing. Moved.
Second.
Motion by Carberry Montgomery, second by Obrecht. Discussion, please vote. Okay, that passes. For a motion on the item?
Move to approve resolution 259-2021.
Okay. Motion by Obrecht,
Second.
second by Pogie. Discussion, please vote. All right, thank you. That passes. And again, as Steve alluded to, this has taken a lot of time, a lot of staff time and effort, and a lot of dialogue. And I want to thank AJ and Steve and the rest of the staff that have put in time for this, because this was an issue that we had to get through. And there are a lot of things we had to discuss with Grimes, and working out some things with our neighbors. We finally got to a successful resolution on both these items. So I want to thank everybody for the time put in for that. So. All right, we will move on then to item 6.3, and that's the petition for the voluntary annexation of the Maplewood Farm LC. The public notice for this was published in the November 26, 2021 Des Moines Register and on the November 25 Dallas County News. And as the clerk, are there objections to this notice is published?
There were none.
Ask for a motion and a second to open this public hearing.
Move to open the public hearing.
Motion by Obrecht,
Second.
second by Carberry Montgomery. Discussion, please vote. All right, that passes. Steve?
Okay, this item is the last of the annexation-related items. And as I mentioned before, this is the Maplewood Farm parcel. It is 30.2 acres. Half an acre of that is the right-of-way, the east side of the right-of-way for 142nd Street. They, as part of the severance area of the previous agreement, did in fact request that Grimes sever them from Grimes, which is the first step in several to be able to be annexed into Urbandale. So they made that request to Grimes, and Grimes did approve a resolution on October 12th of this year, severing them. And so the next step then is to petition the city of Urbandale to be annexed in. And so that's the item that's before you. Should you approve this tonight, then the next step will be to put an application together and file this with the City Development Board to actually have them consider bringing them into Urbandale. Would be happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you, Steve. Any questions for Steve on this from the council? All right, again, we are in public hearing on this item. Would anyone like to address the council on this item? Okay, seeing none, I'll ask for a motion to close the public hearing.
Move to close the public hearing?
Okay, motion by Obrecht. Second by Blake. Discussion, please vote. Okay, that passes.
Move to approve resolution 260-2021.
Motion by Obrecht.
Second.
Second by Pogge. Discussion, please vote. By a nose. All right, that passes. Thank you. Moving on then, item 6.4 is to consider the 2021 election precincting plan. The public hearing, public notice for this was published in the December 3 Des Moines Register. I ask the clerk for the directions to that, and then this is published.
There were none.
Ask for a motion and a second to open this public hearing.
Move to open the public hearing?
Okay, motion by Obrecht,
Second.
second by Carberry Montgomery. Discussion, please vote. Okay, that passes. Steve?
Okay, so every 10 years after a census, states go in and look at their maps from a state standpoint. And once the governor signs those maps into law in Iowa, cities that are more than 3,500 people in population have 60 days to go back and revisit their precinct boundaries. And you can see in the staff report, there's a whole litany of stuff that goes into making sure that those get done the way that the county and the Secretary of State would like them to be done. So we did provide you with the old precincts from 2011, the current proposed precincts, which is what is up here on the screen, and they are significantly different. And the main reason for that is that they now want precinct boundaries to match school district boundaries as much as humanly possible. And with Urbandale, that makes it kind of fun because we have 6 school districts. So it makes it a little bit of a challenge. So Annika Schilke is here with me tonight. I'll ask Annika to come up. For those of you who don't know Annika, she's on our planning staff, been with us for 13 years. Her expertise in GIS to actually put this map together, I would be amiss if I didn't have Annika. So if you don't know Annika, introduce you to Annika and let you know that there's a lot of things that happen in the community development department that you hear about through me, but know that Annika's probably behind the scenes making it happen. So a very valuable member of our team, and just wanted to be able to thank her publicly for that. So Annika, come on up, and between the two of us, we will try to answer whatever questions you might have about these precinct boundaries.
All right.
Annika is the one that has had the actual conversations with both Dallas County and Polk County. So she's been talking directly to them and knows exactly what they want, so.
All right, Annika, the floor is yours.
What questions do you have?
Oh, is there any,
Yeah, we'll
any
just-
questions from the council?
This is what's proposed. This is what we have discussed
Got it.
with Polk County. I guess what I would add is we did part of what the state's requirements are, Secretary of State technically, is that we do send all of this information and the legal descriptions to the county between 7 and 10 days ahead of the public hearing. Dallas County came back to us and said, yeah, these look great. We did not hear anything from Polk County. We didn't expect to hear anything from Polk County because Annika's been talking to them, and as far as we know, they are happy with them.
All right.
So with that, whatever questions you might have, unless anything you want to add?
Yeah, I can kind of answer general questions or specific questions. We can start from the beginning, however you'd like.
Now, will this be the first reading, or are we going to waive the second and third because of a time? I
Yeah.
think
Yes.
AJ said-
We're, yes, I'm gonna.
Time is of the essence. Generally, what they want you to do is to have everything done no later than September 1st. This year was kind of a mess because of all of the census issues, so the governor didn't even sign the state maps into law until November 4th. And on November 4th, the clock starts ticking, so we've got to get documents back to Polk County and to the Secretary of State for them to be able to finish and everything. So yes, because of the of time being of the essence, we wanted to suspend the rules and have this be the third reading tonight.
Yes, as you look at the precincts, which precincts are still going to be blended school districts? Because like, I think precinct 2 is blended. Which other ones are also still going to be blended school districts?
Yes, I would love to.
I've got the school
Take a look
district
that
map
up
in there
here,
if you
yeah.
want it.
Sorry.
Should be the one right next to it. There you
There we go. Sorry, this map is a little funky. Okay, so there are a bunch of constraints on how you draw the precincts. All of them are in play in the city of Urbandale. They can't really cross the county line because the counties administer the elections, and so you wouldn't want two administrators in one precinct. That impacts really just this little piece right here. And then they can't cross a House district boundary, so that's this piece right here. And then Polk County, because of the changes in the way elections are administered, asked us to try really hard to not cross any school district boundaries. There are a couple that cannot be avoided. So there's a piece of the Dallas Center Grimes School District that comes in and covers a lot of the commercial or industrial area of the city of Urbandale. That piece is physically large, but it doesn't have very many people living in it because it's mostly commercial property. So that doesn't meet a threshold for being its own precinct. There is the tiny piece of the Des Moines schools that comes in at the southeast corner of the city of Urbandale. When I discussed it with Polk County, that is not considered, they definitely did not want that to be by itself as a precinct because that area is so small. And then back to the House district that kind of comes in to the city from the north, shared with Johnston. This piece of the Urbandale School District, again, kind of the same situation as that Des Moines piece. It's really too small to be its own precinct. So those are the three places where it is unavoidable to have multiple school districts in one precinct, which, yeah, the county is pretty disappointed in that. It obviously increases the likelihood of, or the possibility for an error on election day or during the administration of the elections when there's more than one ballot type in the precinct office. And so that is why it is such an enormous concern for the county.
Okay. Any other questions from the council, Veronica?
Well, I'll go on record and say I don't like it, but I just think in terms of voting but I mean, I understand where Polk County especially is coming from. I mean, precinct 10 and precinct 12 are, you have to travel a long way in one direction to go vote. And voting by mail is more challenging than it used to be. So I would just say I don't like it, but you did a fabulous job and you had a lot of parameters to follow, so.
Yes, and I'm happy to say that I completely agree with your assessment. I don't like it, but this is the best we can do to help ensure, an efficient and accurate election. And when it comes down to it, then that's probably the most important thing. Dallas County was really easy. They didn't have anything that we needed to worry about, so they let us draw those nice clean lines out there that look pretty durable based on what we're seeing today.
Could you guys, I liked seeing that map with the school districts
Yeah,
boundaries.
absolutely.
Could you send that to us electronically?
Yeah, for sure.
This one, or do you want just the school districts, or is this one all right, or?
No, this
Okay.
is fine. I just, I don't know that I've ever actually seen a map that overlays Urbandale with the 6 school districts. So it's a good one. Or if you have one that, I don't know what the,
We've got another one that is just our boundary and the school districts. It's a little cleaner. This one has the house districts on it, so it's a little bit more cluttered, but we'll send you both.
yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
There you go.
Thank you.
See, I need Annika again. That makes sure we got
Exactly.
that other map ready.
All right, we are in public hearing on this item. Would anyone like to address the council on this item? All right, seeing none, I'll ask for a motion in a second to close this public hearing.
I'll move to close the public hearing.
By Carberry Montgomery. Second. Second by Pogie. Discussion, please vote. And that passes. Motion on the item.
Move to approve council letter 6904 with waiving.
Well, actually, we need to take, I'm sorry, I should have said, prefaced this a little bit. The first, do you have this teed into the system, Nicole?
Yes.
So the first motion would be to suspend the rules, correct?
I have it set up to do the first
First
reading.
reading, and then we'll suspend the rules.
then consider
waive
the
second,
request to
and
switch
make the
systems.
third and final. All right, so,
Move to approve first reading of ordinance 2021-19.
okay, motion by Obrecht.
Second.
Second by Russell. Discussion, please vote.
Apologize, I thought I had all these glitches worked out here.
That passed, right?
That did pass, yes.
Okay, that passed.
And now is it a,
Motion to suspend the rules.
I was looking at Nicole, make sure she's right. It's suspend the rules next. Okay.
Yes, please.
Move to suspend the rules.
Motion by Obrecht. Second by Blake. Discussion, please vote. Okay, that passes.
And then third motion to make this the third and final reading of the ordinance.
Motion by Obrecht. Second by Blake. Discussion, please vote.
Nicole said it was shaking. I was on track.
There she goes.
All right. That passes. Thank you. Moving on then to item 6.5 is a public hearing to consider the Center Point Business Park Outlaw E amendments to the Planned Unit Development Master Plan at 100th North Street, North Park Drive, and 54th Avenue. The public notice for this was published in the December 3, 2021 Des Moines Register. Ask any objections to that. Notice is published.
There were none.
That's for motion. A second to open the public hearing.
Move to open the public hearing.
Motion by Obrecht. Second. Second by Fogy. Discussion. Please vote. Okay, that passes. Steve?
Okay, this is the Center Point Business Park PUD. Here's an aerial photo for you to show you where we are. This is here's the interstate, north of the interstate. This is 100th Street, and this is North Park Drive. So this is the entirety of the Center Point development. And this parcel outlined here in red is the area that is for industrial development. And so what was proposed was a number of amendments to be able to put something in similar to what you see on the screen here. And this is a conceptual plan that shows 4 large warehouse buildings with, on this northernmost building, vehicular parking for office workers to the north and to the east, truck parking on the south side of this building, which would line up with truck parking on the north end of the other building, with the property line going down the middle. And then the same between the second and third building with vehicular parking, and then another truck bay down here. So being able to get all of that to work with the market indicators that they're getting and folks that they're talking with for this particular type of product. There were a few tweaks from our typical requirements that they asked for. So I'll run through these very quickly. All of these, I should note, were unanimously approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission. The first one really ends up being a moot point, and that was to make sure that they didn't have to have a setback in areas where parking would be adjoining each other. And so what we've proposed is to add some language to the PUD that says that those parking setbacks don't come into play unless where shared parking will be used, and then no setbacks required. We do have a few other places in town where that is the case, where you do have parking internally to a parking lot with a property line going down the middle, and obviously we don't require those setbacks in those particular situations. The second one was to, typically when we're requiring a 15% open space, we require each lot to have a 15% open space, but when you've got shared truck loading and shared parking, it becomes very difficult to do that unless you make the building smaller, and their indications from people that they're talking with is that they need these size of buildings. So what was proposed is typically we don't allow buffer yards and parking setbacks to count toward that 15%. And what's proposed is to allow that to count in this particular case. Part of the reason that we feel that that's okay is if you go back here to the aerial photo, there's a large detention basin here to the south. And then, of course, in the retail development and the office development, if you look at the development as a whole, they'll have significantly more than the 15% open space when you look at it as a total. And there are some other cities that do allow that to look at it as a total rather than per area. So it felt like that was appropriate. The third setback was to reduce the building setback along North Park Drive, which is this interior road, from 70 feet to 50 feet. And that is certainly our typical process and what is required in a number of other spaces. 75 feet really isn't needed. The fourth item was to make an amendment to remove the additional setback requirement. When this was written from Cuddy's here adjacent to the west, it would have required a much larger setback than is typically required these days. With the size of the buildings and the building code kicking in, it's actually going to end up being a 40-foot setback from this western property line. There are many other instances and situations similar to this with industrial buildings where 30-foot is what's required. So we felt like 40-foot was appropriate there. The fifth one was to reduce the required number of parking spaces for office users from 5 per thousand down to 4 per thousand. And we certainly have many other situations where we've done that as well. And then the last one was to, the code does say that truck loading spaces have to be 15 feet wide. They're looking at whether or not they can make these truck loading spaces be 13 feet wide. Ultimately, if they can make that to work, staff's position was pavement is pavement. Where the stripes are doesn't really matter. So those were the items that were contained within the amendment. Planning and Zoning Commission does recommend approval. I'd be happy to answer any questions, and got folks from R&R here as well that can answer questions.
All right. Thank you, Steve. Questions from Steve from the council?
Steve, truck traffic on Northwest 54th, is that a full access in and out both ways, left and right?
It is a full access here at this location. It is not at this location.
Any concern about traffic? And, you know, it's gonna be a lot of trucks over there, but.
Yep. They've looked at that. That was obviously one of the things that they've been aware of since the beginning, and feel like this particular scenario will suit their needs.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess the question I had was on the car parking. We went from, we said 5 to 4. Should it be 3? I mean, so it seems we have a lot of industrial there's a lot of open parking during the day around town. And so building space versus parking lot, I'm more of the building space side of things.
Right. Yeah, we decided to go from 5 to 4 just because there's a number of other PUDs where we've done that. And honestly, the discussions we've had with R&R, you'll see when the plat comes up later in the agenda, what they want to do is plat these 2 northern lots and then plat these south 2 lots as an outlot for the future, just to kind of see how the market drives this thing. With buildings this big and being able to be a whole range of things between office and industrial, you almost need to see who the tenants are going to be. So we agreed in discussions with them, let's make it 4 per thousand now. And if you get into a situation where it needs to be less than that, if you've got a user and we can justify it, come on in and we'll talk about another amendment. But we wanted to be consistent with what we offered in other places, and we've done 4 in other places.
This is slightly off topic, but on our northern portion of our property up there, is this the only industrial zoned area, or is everything else residential or commercial?
Yes, everything to the west and to the north, which is going to be in other cities, is going to be primarily residential. As for Urbandale, this is going to be, well, not one of our westernmost, but it's kind of, the boundary gets a little bit funny, you know, because you do have cutties here, but let's put it this way, north of the interstate, this is going to be our westernmost opportunity to have these types of uses. Okay. Yep, and there is a need for these types of uses.
All right, thank you, Steve. Any no other further questions for Steve? We are in public hearing on this item. Would anyone like to address the council on this item? Okay, seeing none, I'll ask for a motion and a second to close this public hearing.
Motion to close public hearing?
By Russell,
Second?
second by Obrecht. Discussion, please vote.
I would move the council letter 6903.
Hang on, so that did pass the first time. Yeah, motion to close pass.
And
All right, motion by Russell,
Second?
second by Obrecht. Discussion, please vote. All right, that passes. Thank you. All right, moving on then, item 7 is to establish public hearings versus item 7.1 to establish a public hearing for the 2022-27 CIP program. And Nick, you would answer any questions if there are. This would set the public hearing date of January 11.
Move to approve Council Letter 6911.
Motion by Obrecht,
Second.
second by Carberry Montgomery. Discussion, please vote. That passes. Item 7.2 is to establish the public hearing for the amendment number 3 for the amended and restated downtown Urbandale Neighborhood Area Urban Renewal Plan. And AJ would answer any questions if there are. This would establish the December 21 consultation meeting and a January 11, 2022 public hearing.
I'd move approval of Resolution 265-2021.
Motion by Poggi,
Second?
second by Obrecht. Discussion, please vote. That passes. Item 7.3 is to establish a public hearing for the Merle Hay Urban Renewal Plan. Same dates on both the public consultation meeting and the public hearing.
Move approval Resolution 264-2021.
Motion by Obrecht,
Second?
second by Poggi. Discussion, please vote. All right, that passes. Thank you. Item 8, planning and zoning items. We have one, item 8.1, the Center Point Business Park Plat 3 preliminary plat and final plat at 54th Avenue and North Park Drive. Steve.
Okay, this is the preliminary and final plat for the Center Point PUD item that we discussed just a minute ago. As I mentioned, 54th Avenue, North Park Drive. The plan now is to go ahead and plat 2 buildable lots at this time, and then save the bottom or south 17 acres. Again, what we looked at is initial plans of 2 additional warehouses down here to the south, but want to do these first 2 lots first. See how things go, and then, you know, keeps them some flexibility to see what's going to happen and what the needs are for what type of space to the south. Planning and Zoning Commission does recommend approval, subject to items noted. Be happy to answer questions.
All right, thank you, Steve. Questions for Steve on this item? I'll ask for a motion in a second.
Move approval of council letter 6902.
Motion by Obrecht.
Or is it two motions that we need?
I'm sorry, you're right.
Okay.
You're right. Motion is it on the preliminary plat first, yes.
Yeah, so motion for preliminary plat.
Motion by Obrecht on item 1.
Second.
Second by Pogue. Discussion, please vote. That passes.
And now, move approval of resolutions 262-2021, final plat.
Motion by Obrecht.
Second.
Second by Pogue. Discussion, please vote.
There it is.
Passed. All right, that item passes. All right, moving on then to item 9. First is item 9.1, the ordinance 2021-18, amending Title 7, Chapter 72 regarding load and weight restrictions. And introducing this is our Director of Public Works and Engineering, John Larson. John?
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Yeah, we're talking about the load and weight restrictions on Aurora Avenue, 104th Street, Sutton Drive, 100th Street, between Northwest Urbandale Drive and Plum Drive. As you'll recall, we've talked about this at a couple past meetings in a little more detail, but now we've put the ordinance together to solidify everything. Just kind of show where we're at again. Here is Northwest Urbandale Drive. Here is Meredith Drive, and then Plum Drive up here to the north. So we're starting here, we come up along by the play fields, continuing on up to Plum Drive. So what we're looking to do is just to limit vehicles that weigh more than 26,000 pounds empty. And the reason we went with the weight of an empty vehicle is on your registration, it lists what your vehicle weighs empty, which will make it much easier for the police to enforce. And with this, we would still allow vehicles that were heavier, that needed to make deliveries into neighborhoods and things like that to be allowed. And we would not prohibit, the sanitation trucks or fire vehicles, things like that, from entering the neighborhoods. We're really just trying to limit the semi-truck traffic that is going through these areas. So just kind of the example of the sign would be the no trucks over the 26,000 pounds empty weight. And then as we talked before, some of the examples, when you get into your larger semis or large delivery vehicles, they'd be over the weight. But again, we're really focused on the semi-truck traffic, whereas the things that'd be below the 26,000 pounds would be your standard delivery vehicles. Just to kind of show you how we're going to go about alerting everybody about what's happening is, we need to provide the signage that lets them know before they would turn onto the street that there's a weight restriction. So for instance, this one over here is what you would see if you were westbound on Meredith, is you get a sign that tells you, you can't be over the 26,000 pounds if you're on 104th Street to the south or from Sutton Drive to the north. So we definitely want to make sure we cover with signage to let everybody be alerted to the weight restriction. And then the way this is set up, being the ordinance that would require the 3 readings, we would also look, if everything moved forward on January 11th, we'd present a resolution that would actually establish the fines for violating in the ordinance. And we did put a draft in the council packet. We'll also plan to work with the businesses in the area to educate them to the changes. And then we'd use the online services to let people be aware of the restrictions as well, so it would come up on their travel maps. With that, I'd be glad to answer any questions.
John, can you go back to the list of prohibited vehicles?
Yep.
Am I reading that, that a cement mixer would be prohibited?
Correct.
What about when a resident in that area needs to replace their driveway?
Then if you are doing something in that area, you're excluded and allowed to go in the shortest route into there. So again, same thing, if you had a very large moving truck, you would be allowed to use that in. You're just not allowed to drive through the corridor.
How would you regulate that? Just if someone got stopped, you'd say, I'm the cement truck driver for,
Correct. You'd have to
concrete
be able to
company and
verify
I'm
your
going-
route. It's very similar to how we handle our weight restrictions in the western part of Urbandale on the asphalt roads is, you know, if you are a home builder and need to get into the lot to build, the expectation is you take the shortest route on the asphalt. It's just, we don't let people drive, you know, sometimes it may make you go a little out of your way to stay on a concrete road, but that's our intent, is to limit that heavy traffic out west, and this would be the same. So again, if you've got, you want to call it business in the neighborhoods, we would still allow that, and the ordinance is written that that
Okay.
is an exception.
great.
And then can you go back to the map one,
Oops, this one?
with all the signs?
Yep.
There we go. So I guess the area west of Northwest Urbandale Drive and the area north of Plum, those two signs, I guess, if I'm driving along and I see that, how do I get onto Plum? How do I get on to Northwest Urbandale Drive? It just seems like we're telling them don't go forward to the intersection we want them to go to.
Well, actually, we tell you not to turn on to these roads, like off of Meredith or off of Plum. You would need, instead of turning, you'd need to go straight.
Okay. And then the other is those businesses that are east of Northwest Urbandale Drive on 104th. Would they typically have any truck traffic going into their back entrance area there? So on 104th-ish, I guess, further down, those businesses. So that entrance right there, would that normally have traffic?
And again, they would have the exclusion of the fact that they're going in their business, but they'd have to come back out this way. Talking with Mid-American Energy, the way they currently operate, they do not have any truck traffic for that driveway.
Okay. Just seems like a lot of signs when we don't like signs elsewhere, so.
Correct. I agree it's a lot, but I think it's hard to enforce the restrictions if you don't provide the signage to alert them ahead of time.
Right, it's just we have, I don't know how many signs are here, but a plethora of signs, and we don't put up individual signs for watch for kids playing in the neighborhood, so just seems a little off on the priority.
Any other discussion? I'll ask for motion on the item.
I'll just say, I'm not excited about it, quite frankly. Maybe that's, I'm reading the room here, a little hesitant. Lots of signs. You've got a bad situation here, I understand, John, and I think you've done a great job with what you have here in front of you, trying to make this thing work. Especially with trucks coming in because, well, I'm going to my business, or I'm going to in to unload some cement. I just think there's going to be an enforcement problem. I'm not against the proposal. I just have some reservations about how it's going to operate.
I guess I can say for the enforcement, though, I think it's gonna be pretty obvious for the police when you've got a semi coming through.
Yeah, I think a semi is going to be that's an easy call. What are you doing over here? You know, you're a semi, but other truck traffic is going to be difficult.
I do have to wonder, I do wonder whether, I mean, if we're talking about, if we have issues with signs, the top one, when you're coming off 100th, that makes sense, the other one, but the one, how much truck traffic do we have along Meredith? It that far over?
There's quite a bit of truck traffic on Meredith, correct. We get requests, which we have not followed through on, to actually eliminate truck traffic on Meredith, but that's one of our main arterials, so we haven't looked to eliminate that.
Well, I appreciate the responsiveness of the engineering department to the neighborhood concerns on this. And I would move approval, but I've never really been told if I'm supposed to move approval of the ordinance or the council letter. So that's why I didn't say anything.
I think either one does the trick, Bridget, but I would usually say move approval of the ordinance, but is that a motion?
Yes.
Okay,
I'll
motion
move
by Carberry
approval of the
Montgomery.
ordinance 2021-18.
Motion by Carberry Montgomery.
Second.
Second by Blake. Any further discussion? Not, please vote.
I apologize. I thought I had these issues fixed out.
All right.
There are 5 in favor.
That item passes. That item passes 5-0. Thank you. All right, moving on to item 10, the external organization funding requests. Again, I know we have a number of people in the room tonight that have been waiting for this moment tonight, so thank you for being patient with us as we conduct our other business. But what we will do tonight, again, our typical procedure that we've done for quite a while, as most of you folks know from being here in previous years, is that we've had the requests from our external funding for the various items that are shown on the agenda tonight. I first want to say thank you to all your organizations, because the organizations that are on this list, as I look up and down that list, are all organizations that contribute greatly to Urbandale. So thank you for each and every one of your organizations for what you do and what you do for Urbandale. And we, again, try to leverage the funds that we have to continue your mission serving our residents. And that's what we hope to do. And so that's why we're here to consider that tonight. Again, just a little bit of ground rules as I traditionally state them, but what we're gonna do tonight is I'll go down the list of each organization as listed on the agenda. I ask for a representative to come up. You have a few moments just to say anything you'd like to regarding your request. The council will not be making any decisions tonight on the request. What we will do is we will take all the requests in tonight, and then I will appoint a subcommittee to review them in a little bit more in depth in the coming weeks. And then there will be a final recommendation made as we do this as part of our final budget approvals in next year. So again, thank you for what you do. Also know that, quite honestly, you know, it's been difficult years for our hotel motel funds. And so, you know, just, we wish we could fund every organization 100%, but just realize that we do need to make some difficult decisions, and that's going to be part of the process that we do. But it's, what we do does not diminish the respect that we have for each of your organizations. So with that, we will get started. I will start with the Urbandale 4th of July celebration. Larry?
Larry Jablonski with the Urbandale 4th of July Committee. On your list, it says $5,000 for banner replacement. Basically, the way the proposal was written to the city, it said that we appreciate all the help that we've had from the city in the past, and that, but to continue with our cost of fireworks and everything else going up, that's why we're asking for the request. I also put a line in there that the banners that the city puts up for us prior to the 4th need to be replaced. So it's for the whole celebration. It's not just for the banners. It's for the celebration that we're asking for. And we do, as Ray said, we really, really, really appreciate the help that we've had from the city in the past, the cooperation with the city departments, the Parks and Rec, police and fire, just make the celebration go so smoothly. And again, we appreciate the support that we've had from the city in the past.
All right, great. Thank you, Larry. Urbandale Little League.
Hi, I'm Molly Olsowski. I'm with the Urbandale Little League. We're a 100% volunteer-run organization. I'm on the board of directors, as well as Roger came with me this evening. It's my first time going through this, so be kind. I've been on the board 2 years and on the auxiliary board for them 3 years prior. We are looking for funding for our batting cage. We have one double overhead batting cage that is in pretty poor shape. We have, as some of you may or may not know, we've got about 500 kids that go through our league. Again, another 100 volunteers as coaches, 25 board members, and then a ton of spectators. We also have Waukee Christian High School, which calls Northview Park their home field. So that brings a lot of folks into our fields, which are, again, entirely maintained by us, the volunteers. And then the neighborhood folks that come through and enjoy the park for recreation through the walking trails. We're partners with the Miracle League, which is also housed at Northview Park. So in getting these funding for our batting cage, it ensures the safety of our athletes, safety of spectators, our volunteers, and also really the future of our program to make sure we can continue to bring great baseball players up through the Urbandale program. Hopefully more state champions in our future.
All right.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Urbandale Historical Society.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor and distinguished members of the council. I'm Norm Hewitt, live at 6913 Sheridan Avenue here in Urbandale, and I hold the honor of being the president of the Historical Society. And what we're looking at, it's not the approaches from the street or the sidewalk, it's the upgrade driveways going into our parking lot. There are two of them. They're roughly 23 by 14 and 26 by 14 with curbs that are breaking up and cracking. And so we're looking for some funding to replace this concrete. We have an estimate of $8,177. And as I understand, it has to be 6-inch thick concrete by city code. And we're kind of questioning whether it was 4-inch when it was put in a number of years ago. The parking lot itself is not breaking up, nor the approaches of the sidewalk. It's just the driveways going in.
Okay.
Any questions?
All right, great, thank you, Norm. Urbandale Community School District.
Hello, my name is Nancy Schultz, and I have the privilege of teaching 5th and 6th grade band at Urbandale Community School District. On behalf of the music teachers at Urbandale Middle School, I've requested $1,529 from the city for the purchase of a student model tenor saxophone. Our school's general budget supports many needs of our band program. However, maintaining an instrument inventory and adhering to a proper replacement schedule is challenging. We aim to have 2 students at each grade level learning to play the tenor saxophone, as well as additional students for our jazz bands, and to provide quality instruments to those students. Saxophones have an average lifespan of 15 years. Our current middle school band inventory includes tenor saxophones that are from 14 to over 33 years old. So we have some instruments that are overdue for replacement. We appreciate your consideration in helping to provide a new student model tenor saxophone for the Urbandale Middle School bands. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Junior Achievement of Central Iowa.
Hi, good evening. My name is Shannon Gerard, and I'm with Junior Achievement of Central Iowa. And we're here today because we are requesting grant money for all of the 5th grade students in the Urbandale Community School District to attend JA BizTown. If you're not familiar, that program is all about financial literacy, work readiness, and entrepreneurship. And this allows the 5th grade students to have an 18-plus hour program and come on site to our facility to participate in a field trip. And so that $5,000 really allows them all to participate in this impactful program. And we're really looking forward to having the Urbandale students back on site participating in field trips this year.
All right.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Urbandale Adult Community Band. Okay. Waukee Christian Services.
Hi, thank you, Urbandale Council, for allowing us a moment to share. I am Melissa Stemple, Executive Director with Waukee Area Christian Services. We have been serving the immediate needs of the not only the Waukee community, but surrounding areas for the last 16 years. And as you know, the area has certainly grown over the years. So this is our first time here. Over the last few years, our goal has been to increase access to services And sometimes there are a lot of, we serve the Urbandale School District, so there is a lot of overlap with service areas here. We are asking for some funding to help increase access to services of not only our monthly food pantry, but our anytime food pantry and our free medical clinic. So our free medical clinic, it has no geographic boundaries, and our anytime food pantry that we just opened up and this fall has no geographic boundaries as well. So there's certainly some overlap between the Urbandale School District and the area that we're serving. This last year alone, we've been calculating some of our food rescue efforts. That's the food recovery that goes back to the families that we serve. And we have shared over 30% of what we have recovered with the Urbandale Food Pantry. That's over 32,000 pounds of food that's been rescued. So a great number and need there that helps those families in need. So again, I would invite you to, if you've not seen our facility, we invite you to come over for a personal tour so you can see it at work and in action. So again, thank you for this opportunity.
All right, thank you. Waukee Community School District, the School Foundation, excuse me.
Hello, good evening. I am Adrienne Tao. I'm the Executive Director of the Waukee Community Schools Foundation, and we are coming before you to ask for $4,200 to go to musical instrument repair, maintenance, and purchases for students at Waukee Middle School. So as you saw on the district maps tonight, within Waukee Community Schools, we serve over 2,500 Urbandale resident students within Waukee schools. And all of those Urbandale resident students will feed up into Waukee Middle School. So this past fiscal year, we had a little over $8,500 in band instrument repair costs. And one of the things that we've realized is that expense continues to grow as our community continues to grow, needs continue to diversify, and being able to provide musical instruments for kids who, as families, may not be able to afford them is one of the ways that we're making an effort to ensure access, equitable access to arts and culture programs in the district. So we'd love your support to make sure that the Urbandale resident students, here's the quick calculation on how we came up with $4,200. We have budgeted about $11,000 in expected repair expenses for the next fiscal year. The $4,200 is the percent of Urbandale resident students within the band program within the middle school of that $11,000. So thank you for your support.
All right, thank you. UGRA.
Good evening, I'm Kurt Hassan, representing UGRA. Thank you for this opportunity. As you're familiar, UGRA offers recreational activity for the youth of our young girls of our city. We're a 100% voluntary-led organization maintaining the facility at the Urbandale Soccer and Softball Complex. This year we've offered rec softball as well as competitive and rec volleyball to the girls of Urbandale. We've got 3 requests that we've submitted. The first is our parking lot payment, 5th of our 10 parking lot payments, which is being the amount of $5,000. We also have a number of buildings on our campus that are about 30 years old that need some siding repair as well as painting. And so we're requesting that the city would fund the siding repair, and UGRA will then fund the painting on those buildings as well. And then lastly, there's concrete is breaking up in a number of areas within our facility, and we've got some runoff issues that we'd like to mitigate through some of that concrete repair as well to maintain the quality of our fields and prevent any erosion on the fields. Thank you.
All right, great, thank you. Greater Des Moines Partnership.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. My name is Brian Crow, and I'm the Executive Vice President for Economic Development at the Greater Des Moines Partnership. Thanks for having us tonight. Just a little bit about Greater Des Moines Partnership. We certainly have a lot of different areas of focus. Certainly economic development is front and center to a lot of the things that we do. Mainly in working to retain and to grow our existing companies while also looking to find new companies to come to our market to grow jobs and capital investment, real property value for the cities in which we serve. We currently serve a 10-county area. Predominance of our projects are in Polk County. We've had a couple opportunities this year in Urbandale, which we're really appreciative of. But just in terms of partnership, I think in generally, we have a great working relationship with the city of Urbandale, with Curtis and Aaron, and AJ, the whole team. Whether it's visiting with company headquarters in markets outside of Iowa or working to attract new companies here, you know, those visits and that continued collaboration is extremely important to us. And you know, greatly appreciate Urbandale, which I feel like is a great champion of regionalism generally. And we're always focused on marketing regionally and selling locally, finding opportunities to bring back to the market that our communities can compete for, to try to find new opportunities for growth and development. So happy to take any questions, or happy to respond to any questions you might have after the fact.
Great, thank you, Brian. You can.
Hi, I'm Sue Koch. I'm the current president of UCAN. I'd like to thank you for your past support of UCAN. We are a growing community, and UCAN serves some of the neediest people in our community. We are diverse, but they are the weakest, our members. We, in the last month, have served over 1,500 people, and we serve people in their needs for clothing, for food, for shoes, for just their basic needs. In the last 4 years, we have changed our structure to be more of a human needs, more than an entertainment structure. We have provided for them in their basic needs. One of the things in our grants, we have each year asked for you to work with our structure, but each year we look at what our needs are, and we have people coming into us that don't know how to file for LIHEAP, how to file for unemployment. And we become a conduit to them to go out and tell them how to do these different things. And one of our needs is that we need a master's level social worker, and we're asking for you to look at our needs and to help us to provide a master's level social worker. So our funds, we're asking for additional funds next year to be able to provide that need. So when you look at us for our regular needs plus the needs for a social worker. We would like to have you help us to provide that need for our clients. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Sue. Urbandale, the American Legion Post 663.
Good evening. My name is Michael Knight. I'm the current commander of Post 663, Lomere. Tonight, we're requesting $1,175, and our two primary goals this year are the two programs. One is for two young men to attend American Legion Hawkeye Boys State to experience the working of our state government in June of 2022. And the second one is the awards for American Legion 5th grade flag essay contest held in Webster, St. Pius, and Des Moines Christian elementary schools. We award a cash prize for first, second, and third place in each school and pick an overall winner to represent our post in district and state competition. We also have enjoyed a great working relationship with the city of Urbandale and look forward to whatever assistance the council can lend. Any questions? Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. And lastly, but not least, Urbandale Food Pantry.
Hi, City Council, Mayor. Thank you for having us tonight. It's good to see everybody in person. I want to take a moment real quick. A lot of you are very familiar with the work that we do at the Urbandale Food Pantry, but I want to share something with you. I have two stories for you real quick. Grace, an Urbandale senior.
Patty, can you move the microphone a little bit?
Grace, an Urbandale senior who reached out to say thank you again for the food that was delivered to me. I can't even tell you my feelings as I unpacked everything that you sent. You don't know what it means to me. It is really hard for me to buy meats, money-wise, and seeing the chicken and meatballs, I was like a kid at Christmas. I just want to let you know what this means to an older person. And another person that we serve, a family, Dave, who never thought he would find himself in a situation where he needed to use a food pantry at this stage in his life. But here he was in Urbandale and needing food and community services. He would go out of his way to come to the Urbandale Food Pantry because the staff and volunteers made him feel welcomed and never made him feel looked down upon for having to receive a service. I want to take a moment to say thank you because it's with the support that we have from the city that we're able to provide the services that we do. The Urbandale Food Pantry is one of the highest per volume pantries in the DMARC network, serving on anywhere from 900 to 1,200 families per month. 1 in 3 of the individuals we serve as a youth. We serve over 500 seniors every single month, and we're continuing to average over 50 brand new families every single month. The Urbandale Food Pantry is also unique in the fact that we do fundraise and write grants and bring in dollars to support the purchase of personal hygiene products, diapers, additional milk, dairy, produce, formula, vital staple items that every family should have access to when they're utilizing our service. One of the other unique things that we do have, and I know Melissa mentioned it earlier, is our anytime room where all of our food rescue comes in. The Urbandale Food Pantry has a very robust food recovery program and partnering with the local box stores and grocers. In 2020, we rescued over 300,000 pounds of food and have already surpassed that for 2021. And we've brought on additional partners like the new Quick Star and the Hy-Vee Fast and Freshes. All of these partners that we're bringing in really supplement the food that families are getting for their one-time calendar check in a month. There are individuals that we literally see every single day that just stop by, grab a couple items, and then go about their day. One of the other things I want to mention real quick is you'll see in the request that we've asked for some additional funding to go to the support of optimizing our current facility. We've all kind of had a little bit of a discussion on what our current facility looks like. And as we've grown, we've kind of Frankenstein, and I really don't know if that's a word or not, but we Frankensteined it together by just adding on more space, but it's never actually fit what our needs are. In meeting with some members from the city and recognizing that there is no current location that's in Urbandale, east of 86, on a bus line with adequate parking and a loading dock, we had to look internally and say, okay, what can we do with our current facility? So we have been collaborating with ISG, who did a facility scan of our current space, and we're looking at making some modifications prior to August of next year. The number one important thing that I really want to make happen is that we decrease the amount of schlepping that our volunteers are doing every single day. If you can imagine, about 10,000 pounds of food come in and out our doors every single week. And the way it's set up, our trucks come in and then they're offloaded onto dollies, and then our volunteers push them in, and then it's a process. And if I can decrease the amount of work that they are doing, then I want to make that happen. Also, most of our volunteers, Sue, cover your ears, are age 65 years of age or older, and it's a lot of work. And so if I can make that easier for them and then our family. So our number one priority is widening a door so a pallet jack can fit through, and making a designated area in our current space for all of our backstock donations, loading, pretty much a receiving area. So with that would be widening the door, pouring some concrete, and then optimizing the current space that we have. So you'll see that on the request along with the support that is typically given for the coverage of our rent. So that is one of the big priorities that we have moving into next year. And, I just want to again say thank you for your consideration and your support. I'm constantly blown away by the support that the Urbandale community has for the work that we do. So thank you.
Great, thank you, Patty. All right, that takes us to the end of what I had on my list. Is there anyone in the room here that I did not recognize that was intending to speak tonight? Good, thank you. Just want to make sure I just want to be good from the standpoint I didn't want to miss anybody. So, again, thank you, everyone. As I said before, we will be taking all of this under advisement and making decisions in due course during our budget sessions. But thank you again for everything you do and for being here tonight to present the information. Much appreciated. All right, moving on then to mayor and council items. Ron?
I just want to thank everybody for the reception earlier and for the gifts. It's very nice to have. I still have one more meeting, so I'll be in the seat next in 2 weeks. But thank you for that. I appreciate staff, especially everyone who participated in getting it together. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Ron. Bridget?
Surprisingly, I have nothing to say. I'm sure I do, but I just forgot.
I thought you were just leading up because you were kind of doing
No, I guess I will say, I'll take that back.
No, you said you didn't have anything to say.
No, I just wanted to acknowledge the event we had this afternoon, we had the great reception. But prior to that, most of us were in attendance at the ribbon cutting at Lillis Lofts, and that was a long time in coming, a designated affordable housing complex in our community. I hope it is the first of several that we will see in the next few years. So I think it's just beautiful, and if you haven't had a chance to check it out, it's very nice on the inside, and it's in a great location for us in Urbandale. So.
All right, thank you, Bridget. Adam?
Yeah, since I won't be at the next meeting, just thanks to Dave and Ron for the years of service that you've put in and being on this council. It's been great to serve with you the past 2 years. And then the other is because of high wind warnings, I see some school districts are dismissing early tomorrow, something I didn't think I would ever see a school district dismissed due to high winds. But it's happening. But also, I saw a great post of if you have outdoor yard displays that have inflatables, tie them down. We don't need to see Santa flying yet.
Thanks, Adam.
I just echo what Ron said. Thank you. Thank you for those who attended tonight. Appreciate it. It's been a pleasure serving on council. I would echo what Bridget said at the ribbon cutting this afternoon of the new Lillis Lofts. I would encourage you to get over to see that. I was privileged to be on the very ground floor the first time I met with those folks, and we basically scratched it out on a napkin at Hy-Vee over coffee one morning. And to see it progress over the years with a lot of work of a lot of people into what we saw this afternoon. So it's a great legacy for Urbandale.
All right, thank you, David. Matt?
Yes, I do. I have one more meeting with both of you, but I'm sorry I could not make the ceremony of family childcare issues. But I'm sorry I missed it. But I'm sure I wanted to be there in spirit. So thank you. I'll say all the schmoozy, heartfelt stuff next time. But we'll get into that next. I'll just say on a personal note. Tomorrow is my last day of being on orders. I had my active orders and I had a 2-week order. So on Thursday, I am officially a citizen again after months and months and months of being on military orders. So that's good. And then finally, ditto on affordable housing. So there you go.
All right. Thank you, Matt. Yeah, I want to echo too. It was a great event this afternoon at Lillis Lofts. Great event at 5 o'clock. Last word to say, but no, I guess I have one more word to say that on the 20th. Ron and Dave, thank you again for your service. It's truly appreciated. It's been a privilege to serve with you these years. And then on the 28th also, Amy and Larry and myself will be sworn in. So we will do that at the beginning of the council meeting on the 28th. Before that, they don't get to take their seats on the 28th, but they at least be sworn in, and we will do that, and that's an honor to do that as well. And I can't think of anything else that I'm missing, so I will ask for a motion in a second to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.